Hmm.
How's it going?
Good. I think we are the same sort of people from last week. That's pretty consistent.
Yeah.
Hey, Gaurav, you did say something we weren't able to hear.
Oh, maybe we can use the chat. Maybe you can type.
So, but yeah, let's just kick off the meeting um, while Gaurav figures out his audio.
He just left.
He might just want to rejoin and see if it works. So I was able to hear some background. All right. So I think welcome to the second meeting of Docubetter. And no, I think our PR is like almost set and just waiting for some blessings slash reviews. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, so I think the reviews, yeah, it's not really clear what needs to be reviewed. I mean, it's just like,
Yeah, I
it's
know.
pretty simple.
I know
But
we just,
yeah, yeah.
you know, I think Sage is out this week. Like
Yeah.
at least he was out for the last 2 days. So have him review it once and then it should be good.
No, I think
I,
that's a good idea. When I first revamped the schedule page, he
mhm,
had several comments and then changed his mind a couple times, I think. So
mhm,
he may actually want something changed.
yeah.
um, and then once that's approved, we'll need to do backports,
Mhm,
um, and that can probably. So obviously we'd want to do Mimic and Luminous.
mhm.
Um, is it possible to still do backports to the other branches too, like Jewel? Or,
We are not, no, we are not really backporting like regular fixes to Jewel until unless it's like really, really important. So I wouldn't worry about Jewel. So I think Mimic and Luminous should be good. And once this gets merged, I can take care of the backporting, workflow.
um, you mean you mean don't backport at all, or only
Uh,
backport going forward?
mm, no, Mimic and Luminous, I said.
Oh, I see. Um, yeah, I mean, I think so. Our next phase would be to start to deal with. I think last week we discussed tackling some of the search engine
Hmm.
issues,
Hmm.
um, but that doesn't completely solve the issue of knowing what you're looking at. And so that's why I'm kind of curious, like if we can make an exception to backport a documentation change to things like Joule, because that's what
Hmm.
would enable those banners to be on the page that say like this is not supported anymore.
Right. Okay. For that, for those purposes, it might be worth it. Okay, I'll figure out how that can be done. What's the best way to go about it? But I understand the motivation behind doing it. So I'll figure out with the backports team that we have. But at least we know we need it for the immediate two releases.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And then, um, yeah, yeah. I guess the thing is like the search engine optimization is
Hmm.
not gonna. There's still like probably a million links out there that are like pointing to old things. Like, yeah. Okay, all right, that sounds good. So I don't really have any update on the search engine stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I have a list of suggestions that had been
Mm-hmm.
um, mentioned in the mailing list, but I just haven't been able to find time to like research this stuff. There's like oops.
So I
Yep.
I just briefly went over it, and I believe this is the suggestion that we got about.
Yeah, it seems to solve part of the issue. So there is definitely this notion of this canonical reference.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it needs to be done in conjunction with several other things. There's so one is this canonical thing.
Mm-hmm.
Another is that um, I think when we use the canonical thing, we're also gonna maybe need to change the redirect. So when you go to
Mm-hmm.
docs.ceph.com, it takes you to mimic
Mm-hmm.
instead of taking you to master.
Right.
I think that's kind of the way the canonical thing works.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we can also do some tricks with that special file
Mm-hmm.
called robots.txt,
Mm-hmm.
which will like tell search engines to just like don't even index certain things, and we can use like a regex to say, maybe ignore everything except master, mimic, luminous, or stuff like that, or maybe ignore all the PRs. I think we can get
Okay.
several different techniques together to like create a pretty robust solution.
Okay. So where does that text file reside? Yeah.
Robots.txt.
Yeah.
It would be at I think it's on a per domain basis, so I think it would be docs.ceph.com/robots.txt.
Okay.
So we'll need to also, I guess this will be the point where we will need to maybe bring Alfredo back in to talk
Mm-hmm.
about how the site's deployed,
Mm-hmm.
because the robots.txt will need to get deployed correctly, and then um, we'll need to update the redirect.
Yeah, I understand that part.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let's do that then. For next week, we can give Alfredo a heads up that we would like him to be at least here in this meeting, and then maybe he can give us more ideas and talk more about how this thing works. It's going to be useful for everybody to hear about it, right?
hmm Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, once we figure that part out, we also need to add um, links for users to be able to switch between uh, versions.
hmm
That
Do we
is
want to
some
tackle that in the next
that
version too at the
that
same time?
no, that might be the third thing to do. I'm just trying to order things in my mind. What are the next thing and then the next thing to do?
Yeah, that sounds
Just
good.
so that everybody's aware, and if anybody's interested or knows how to do these kind of things, they can just pitch in, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I ended up adding a little bit of stuff to the projects page. I can try to share my screen and show how that works. Give me a. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, it's the blue jean. Oh yeah, yep, I see it.
Okay. Is this better now?
The what'd you say?
Is this better? I just zoomed in a bit.
Oh yeah, it's fine. No,
Okay.
yeah, I can read
So
it.
yeah. So I mean, the idea is that so this is the workflow that you explained last week about editing on GitHub. Now the
hmm
other option is like, let us say, for whatever reason, due to lack of time or like lack of expertise or whatever, a user just wants to report a documentation bug. he or she could just come here, and this is what I've added in. This first card explains how one can go about improving Ceph documentation. First one just describes, first point here just describes how you can just go and click on the edit on GitHub link, and then you can just create a PR, and this is only going to work for all the relevant branches that we care about. And for other ones, you'll see the warning on the, like a red label on the top saying that this documentation is unsupported. The other way to report documentation bugs would be that you could just use this UI here or this platform here to just add a column or add a card and just write in whatever you observed was a bug. So if you have a GitHub account and you have GitHub credentials, you should be able to access this projects page on Ceph/Ceph on GitHub. And the way you can do it is just add a link to the doc that you found had a bug, and then you can just describe the bug in maybe a couple of sentences, just saying that, okay, this config option does not make sense anymore, or there is a minor thing, like I observed a spelling mistake in such and such page. So things like that can just easily be reported using these two fields, link to the doc and describe the bug. And the final case is that for those of our users who do not have GitHub credentials per se, they will not be able to use either the first option, which is edit on GitHub, because that creating a PR and doing other stuff requires GitHub account. And even accessing this projects page, a person with no GitHub account will have a view only access here. You can just go and see, but not do much here. So for those set of users, you can just click on this Etherpad link that I've added here. And if you just click here, it opens a document like this. And this is just a blank sheet where you can put in, like, example, the same thing, link to the doc and describe the bug. And this does not require any kind of GitHub accounts or any kind of access. This is open to all. So this is going to be the easiest way for anybody to come and report. But yes, we would encourage people with GitHub accounts to use GitHub accounts to use the first or the second way of reporting bugs. And finally, what I would like to emphasize on, even on this projects page, we would encourage only relevant Ceph release bugs. That means master, mimic, luminous. And if you find bugs in older versions, I don't think we want to go and fix them now. So please ensure that you use it for the right purposes. I think that's it. I mean, this can further be narrowed down to like different components as we see people using it. And if we see that this is just becoming too cluttered and it doesn't make sense to have everything in the same column, we could just create more columns for people to go and, maybe all the luminous bugs could be in one column, all the mimic could be another. I mean, we can do it in whatever way we want, but we at least want this platform to be used by people in the first place. So I think that's all I wanted to share in terms of all kinds of users and all levels of documentation bug reporting that you can use with Ceph now.
Cool. I like it.
I like it too. What is Gaurav? Is your thing working now? Your audio working now? You're muted anyway, so. Okay, I think he's just typed something. I have a question. So this is a question from Gaurav. He says, can we have the trackers related to dog fix in one Etherpad with some small description so that if someone wants to fix them? Okay. Yes, I think Gaurav, with the projects page that I can link it again if you want. Uh, just a second.
Is this
Actually,
talking about a link to the Ceph tracker?
no, no. I think he's talking about like one place where, let us say, a newcomer who wants to contribute to Ceph and wants to go and fix bugs can see them and go and start fixing them. Is that right, Gaurav? I think that's what you meant. Let me just assume that's what he meant, and I can just go through how people can do that. Let me just start sharing my screen again. So if we just go to Ceph, you see there is a section called projects here. If you just click here, this takes you to all the active projects that we have on GitHub. And the first one here is documentation. So this is the page that it'll redirect to, and it'll tell you what options you have. And what we are suggesting is we use the rest of this projects page to go and report documentation bugs. So let me go and write an example. So I will just create, say, mimic talk bugs. This creates a column. Now, if I want to add a card, I can probably go and add a card here, or I can just go and edit this column. Okay, how do I add a card here?
The plus sign.
Not letting me add a card like this. This is just saying add a column.
It says add a card, I think, right? Add a note if you click it.
Okay, so let's say, okay, this is how we do it.
Yeah.
So let us say this is the section for all the mimic bugs. So I just come here and say link to doc, and I'll have, let us say, whatever link here and describe bug. And this will say config option XY is not relevant anymore. So let us say this is what somebody reported. Now you will be able to see this card here, and any fresh contributor to Ceph can just come here, look at this, create a PR, link that PR. You can go and edit here, and then you can edit this note. Let us say there was a PR to fix this, and you can just link a PR, say this is the PR, and then once this gets resolved and merged, we can always delete this note from here. This is the whole workflow that we want to use for new users to come and contribute. Just look at this projects page and look at the bugs that are open, link a PR that fixes it. And also the idea is that we as Ceph developers will go and revisit this document on a regular basis to combine some cards which maybe like can be fixed in one pull request maybe, right? So there's there are like 2 or 3 mistakes in one page in RBD. We will just say, okay, just whoever is going to pick these 2-3 cards and create a PR to fix them together. So it just optimizes the whole process rather than just creating one-line changes and stuff like that. So, okay, I see that you have understood what I was trying to say, and I hope that this is going to make life easier. All right. So I guess, is there anything? That's okay. No worries. Gaurav, if you have more questions, you can just type it in the chat, or you can write a follow-up email or something.
I think that maybe it would be useful to make, like, I just found a bug in the Mimic documentation, and maybe we could like just make a card there.
Awesome. Yeah, that's what I was trying to do, but I couldn't think of any bug. I always feel our docs are so good, so I can't really think of a bug. But if you have found one, we can just demo that one, and that'll be awesome. You can share your
Yeah.
screen if that works
And
for you.
then I think it would be nice to have like a bug in the column
It's a
that,
sample that people can take a
yeah.
look. Yeah.
So, so I'm going to add it, but we shouldn't fix it. We should just leave it there.
Sure, sure. As long as it's not very crucial for us to fix.
Some people may even just say it's not a bug, but we can leave it in there anyways.
Okay.
Are you seeing anything on my
Yes,
screen?
I'm seeing a Ceph volume page.
Cool. All right, so let me zoom in here. Um, so the bug that I think exists is that this outline over here it doesn't make any sense. Like there, it's clear that there should be some structure to this,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like LVM has like documentation for its subcommands, and
Mm-hmm.
so does simple,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not like structured in a hierarchy. So it's really kind of confusing about what this list of things is trying to portray to me. Um, I suspect that this might be a result of like a kind of a lack of being able to go like another level deep,
Mm-hmm.
but we could go ahead and add it and then see if anybody cares to look into it.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. So so I guess we can create this, and then maybe I'll add some more
No,
detail to it.
you had to add a link to this.
There we go. Okay.
You have to add a link.
I'm pretty sure
That's
that
why this helps, right? I just want people to just add at least two things.
so um, the navigation outline on the left side here doesn't show the hierarchy. I don't know how to spell that.
Autocorrect.
Hier- it doesn't show the hierarchy um, properly. For example, the children elements of LVM are at the same level as the children elements as LVM and simple. Okay, I mean, I think that should be enough to get, for if somebody was looking at this, they'd get it and they could say like, it's like the docs don't support another level or that.
Yeah, so this would be like, this is not like a trivial fix, right? It'll be some Ceph volume person who's just going to get involved, and we are going to see what's the best way to fix it. But if it's like a very small, minor issue that somebody encounters, or maybe some redirect link is not working, or something like that, that
Mm-hmm.
can just be fixed pretty easily. So I think
Right.
this makes sense, and that the more people start using it, we'll get a better idea about how we can classify these and how we can just maybe also simplify this with one simple column which says this is for newcomers, and basically categorization of simple bugs, simple
Yeah.
to fix, medium, or high.
Yeah, I think it's not clear to me that you can, I think you have to, you can categorize them. Maybe we'd have to use columns. If you turn them into issues, you can
Mhm.
attach labels to them, but I don't know if you can do much to one of these notes unless it turns into an issue other than just moving it around between columns.
The other thing I know that you can probably do is you can assign labels to them. And those labels will be in the PR linked to them, these cards. So if you go to some other project, if you just go to the Crimson project, for example, and just look at how that is being used, you'll be able to.
So those labels are attached to PRs, right?
Yes,
Not,
yes.
yeah. So I think like, yeah, I mean, we would, yeah, so I guess it just depends on if you want to categorize things without first having create PRs. That would be a problem.
Yeah, then the only thing you can do is use columns for now.
Yeah, this is sort of the downside of not using GitHub issues, because you could turn these into issues
Mm-hmm.
and then you could attach labels to those, but we have that disabled for the Ceph project.
But well, then this is better than nothing. So let's just start with this. And if you really think this, we are seeing bottlenecks here, then we can always switch to a better platform.
Okay, that sounds great.
So so there's another question in the chat which says, will this project be updated with trackers which are currently open? Okay, so we could do that. I mean, there is a way to report. Yeah, I know there's a way to classify bugs in tracker.ceph.com documentation. We could do that as well. I am not saying that one can replace the other, but I'm just saying that doing it in both places is just going to be redundant. And I know the tracker has a workflow which you have to first create a bug, and then that sends an email to everybody, and then you have to follow the whole thing. And also, I don't think you can. I mean, you could probably associate other issues to one tracker issue, but until unless they are like really related, it doesn't make sense because you're solving two issues with one PR. It doesn't make sense to relate them in a tracker issue. So the idea is to, if there are simple things that do not need to go through tracker.ceph.com, we might not choose to use that for documentation purposes. So yeah, that's the answer to your question, Gaurav. Well, we have, you're still sharing your screen, Noah.
Oh, yeah, you probably don't want to read my random emails.
If it is more exciting than talking about documentation, well, yeah, we will be interested.
It's not about documentation.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah. All right. So, okay. Is there anything else we want to discuss? We have 2 minutes more. So I think the to-dos for next week are pretty clear. We need to get this PR merged, and we need to reach out to Alfredo and try to get him. I know it's going to be a little bit late for him on Friday evening, but if he can just make it for at least the first part of the meeting, it'll be great. And then we can start working on the next stuff, which is, getting the right links, getting the relevant links in the search to up. You have anything else now?
I don't. This is pretty good. The documentation is now better.
At least that's what we're trying to do.
Did anyone, I just realized I didn't fully read John's reply to our email about feedback.
I think he was pretty happy about it. You should just request a review from him. I see that as a +1. His reply looks like a +1 to me.
Yeah, I was like, it says awesome, and then I was like, should I keep reading? Yeah, so I think he's basically saying talking about some of the stuff that is going to be in our next steps,
Right.
another phase.
Yep. All
Cool,
right.
that's all I have.
If we don't have any more questions, we can call it a day. Thanks for joining, everybody, and see you guys next week.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.